Welcome to the Partizan podcast. I'm Ben. This is George. Today we're talking about how to prepare for your first BJJ competition. George,
Damn. Yeah.
competing. You're about to compete for your first competition.
Yes.
You're nervous. You're scared.
Yes.
You've invited your girlfriend and your parents to see you get strangled unconscious in the first round.
Yeah.
What should you be thinking about doing?
I think number one is, before anything, is pack your bag.
Okay.
You should pack your bag. What are we putting in the bag, Ben? What are we putting in the bag? You need at least 2 pairs of shorts if you have an accident before.
In case you shit yourself.
No, that's a real thing, though.
Is
That's
that from a story you have?
No, I've never. But it's just like, I've seen people rip their gis, rip their shorts. You get excited.
Sometimes you have uniform rules that need to be adhered to.
It's true, yeah.
If it's an IBJJF competition, they have a little gi checker. Have you seen the gi checker? They check the sleeve length. They check everything. Make sure you've got a spare uniform. I'll go even further back before we even pack our bag. Understand the rule set of the competition that we're fucking competing in, George.
True, yeah. That's helpful.
It's the worst thing as a coach to go to a tournament, particularly if it's a knockout tournament, and your athlete, you've driven 45 minutes, and your athlete gets disqualified.
Well,
for reaping on the very first match.
Yeah. I've actually had a good tactic from a person that I know that I won't say the name, but basically what you do...
Zach Amon?
Like, who's that?
Shout out Zach Amon.
Who's that?
For getting reaped?
Huh? Oh, the best commentator, announcer, the best announcer in the game.
Yeah. Just for context, for those who don't know, a friend of ours, Zach, went to Worlds, and I think it was his first match.
Yeah.
His opponent forced him to reap, forced Zach to reap, and then yelled out to the referee, and then Zach got disqualified for it.
That's right.
Which is actually a great strategy if you have no ethics or morals. That's a great strategy to win a tournament.
Yeah.
But going back to the main point, we need to understand the rules.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing I was saying is, I actually know someone that told me what they do is they know the rules, but if they're losing in a match, they on purpose do something illegal, so they get disqualified. Because then I didn't lose, I got disqualified. So
yeah, it's the gentleman's way out, I guess. Yeah. What do they call it? The moral victory?
I think that's a coward's way out, but if
okay, don't do that. Yeah, but understand the rules, understand the point system.
Yes.
Okay. So you've got, let's talk about grappling industry as an example. I guess IBJJF point system is the same. A takedown, 2 points. A sweep, 2 points. A guard pass, 3 points. Knee on belly, 2 points. Mount and back, 4 points, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound right to you?
I have no idea.
There's no idea. What are we doing here? Check with your local rule set. And the biggest thing is understand what you can and can't do.
Yes.
In the tournament, particularly if reaping is not allowed, which it's usually not, particularly at white to blue belt level. If you reap, it is something that can get you immediately disqualified.
But you can reap in grappling industries.
But you can reap in grappling industries.
But not in IBJJF.
For blue belts. I'm not sure. I don't think white belts can. I'm not sure. IBJJF, you can't even touch your opponent; they'll disqualify you.
If you look at them wrong.
If you look at them,
yeah.
If your tone is not respectful,
that's right.
If you're not wearing a suit,
yeah,
you'll get disqualified.
That's right.
Many ways to get disqualified. Though.
That's right.
Okay, so we understand the rule set. If you're enjoying this episode, make sure to follow on whatever app you're using. Back to the show. Talk more about packing our bags, I guess.
Well, one is change of clothes. So just in case you have a wardrobe malfunction. Okay, pack lots of water, electrolytes, Gatorades, whatever liquids to hydrate you, basically.
Yeah. An IV.
You're gonna be there for a long time usually, so you need some kind of protein, maybe some beef jerky, whatever you like.
Yeah, the food at these tournaments sucks normally.
So you get some good acai, maybe.
But you got acai, a big bucket full of sugary. It's like ice cream, let's be honest, like sorbet.
And then my favorite is snakes.
Lolly snakes.
Lolly snakes. I mean, what do Americans call snakes?
Shout
out to our American viewers. Most of our viewers are American.
I don't know if they have lolly candy
bars.
Candy snakes.
Bring some candy bars.
Okay. Have a game plan. Understand roughly what you're going to do.
Tell me what's like an example of a rough game plan.
Okay, well the match starts standing. You're both standing.
Mm-hmm.
have something that you're going to do. It's usually one of two things, right? Take your partner down, take your opponent down, or pull guard.
Yes.
And that seems like a simple thing, but at my first match, my first tournament, I didn't actually think that far ahead. Because normally we did seated versus standing. So I thought, oh, fuck around with some takedowns. And I had really poor takedowns, which wasn't a good idea. My game plan should have been to pull guard, but I should have known what guard I'm going to pull. So I should have a bit of a system. Okay, I get my grips, I pull to De La Hiva. I should have had something that I'm going to work offensively. Because in the heat of the moment, adrenaline's kicked in. You need to have something you're looking at doing. Oftentimes in white belt tournaments, I've noticed that the people that win are often the person who's most assertive and the person who knows what they want to get and assertively goes after that position. Particularly if you have, say, a really good close guard. If you can bring that person into your close guard, oftentimes that fact that you've brought them to your favorite position means you'll probably win the match.
I like it, yeah. Yeah, definitely have a game plan. Figure out, will I pull guard or will I wrestle?
Yeah.
And ask yourself beforehand, have I ever wrestled? If you've never wrestled,
No.
then the
Today's
answer's
a good
no.
time to learn.
Just sit down. Sit your ass down.
Well, some people feel they might train. It's ironic. They might train in a gym where pulling guard is kind of frowned upon, but those gyms also don't wrestle a lot.
Yeah, that's me, man. I've had trained in the gym where they're like, if you pull guard, you're a pussy.
Yep.
We never did any kind of stand up. So
what am I supposed to do?
I go to tournaments and I have no clue what to do.
Just stand there and wait for the other person to take you down, I guess.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. So
What else?
So have a rough game plan. I think it's also understanding, okay, you should get there beforehand because you need to weigh in and things like
100%.
this. So get there a few hours beforehand.
Make sure you're on weight. Make sure you know what the weight limitations are. A lot of tournaments, you need to weigh in wearing your gi.
Ben, should I cut down to a lower division?
Yeah,
should I
you should
cut
cut
weight?
at least 20 pounds.
At least 20 pounds.
Yeah, you want to be the biggest guy in the smallest division.
Is that what we're doing?
I would say, particularly on your first tournament, don't cut any weight. So if you're in between weight classes, unless you can comfortably cut the weight. I mean, like when we talk about cutting weight, there's two options when we talk about cutting weight. It's slowly losing some fat over let's say 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and you might lose 0.5 kilogram, 1 pound per week max. That's
losing weight.
Losing weight and cutting weight. That's what I'm trying to differentiate. Losing weight, I could lose 2 kilograms in the next 8 weeks. You can lose that weight. Cutting weight is when you manipulate your diet, you manipulate your salt intake, you manipulate your water intake to essentially dehydrate yourself to the point of 5, sometimes even 10 kilograms, like 10, 20 pounds, to weigh in at such a depleted state. But the reason why this works in professional combat sports is two things. First, they have professionals that understand what they're doing when it comes to cutting weight, so they can do it safely. The second and the most important is these tournaments and matches have day before weigh-ins, not day of weigh-ins. So if you have 24 hours to replenish your fluids and replenish that weight, it might make sense to cut weight, particularly if you're a professional. If it's your first tournament and you weigh in at 8:30 and you fight at 9 o'clock, if you cut any water at all, you're dehydrated and impacting your performance massively. So don't do it.
Yeah.
Very
It's
silly idea.
Like if you're cutting weight for a white belt tournament, what are we doing here?
I will say, what are we doing here? I will say though, I have seen one of my students once was overweight by, I think, like 500 grams, maybe a kilogram. And he put on a sweatshirt, put on a tracksuit, and just went for a 2-kilometer run. And he was a sweaty dude, so he could sweat it out. And then he made weight. Not ideal.
No.
But as a last ditch, you're not allowed to compete unless you sweat some of it out. Maybe it's okay.
And weigh yourself beforehand as well, because a lot of these tournaments, they only give you one shot.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
If you are overweight, that's done. You're disqualified. You've wasted your money. You're definitely not getting a refund.
Even kids division, sometimes they do that, which is brutal. Imagine being a 5-year-old and you're like, mate, you're 300 grams overweight. Get
brutal.
the fuck out of here.
That's
Thanks
rough.
for your money.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
That's rough.
The next point, and one of the most important, particularly for beginners in their first comp, make sure you warm up properly. The most important thing. The reason why I say this is something we don't really think of if you're normally training. Normally the gym you're at, they might have some sort of warm up, but they might just have some drilling, some games, some progressive intensity towards the training session. And then you're not rolling hard until the middle or the end of that 1 hour session. And that's just normal for you. If you don't warm up properly, you're essentially going from a resting heart rate of, let's say 60 beats per minute, until like walking into a super stressful, super intense, very hard roll, and your heart rate will fucking spike to 180, 200. When that happens, when your body goes from 60 beats per minute to like 200, your body and brain think, I'm about to fucking die. Flood adrenaline right now. I'm fighting for my life. And adrenaline spikes and dumps are the worst thing. The worst thing.
Yeah.
Because you'll feel like completely overwhelmed. Your forearms will be pumped. You'll be, particularly after the match is done, win or lose, you'll be completely exhausted. And then you'll still have 4 matches to go, 5 matches to go if it's a round robin. So yeah, don't do it. Have you ever had an adrenaline dump?
Oh yeah. Every single time I competed, basically. I think it also just comes with time, to be honest. Like that's the other side of this is your very first tournament. If you haven't done combat sports before or competitive sports in the past, you're probably going to find it difficult to stay calm.
Yep.
You're probably going to find it difficult to not have an adrenaline dump. So just kind of expect that as well.
Yeah.
Like you will have an adrenaline dump and it doesn't feel good. It's rough.
Yeah, but
you just have to work through
warming up will definitely help. Legitimately get a good sweat on. You should be like walking onto the mat sweaty. That's a good way to put it. If you're not sweating when you walk on the mat, you probably haven't warmed up enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just on the back of that, just the mental side as well. If you're anything like me, on the days leading up to it, you will feel nervous and anxious about the comp. This is very normal. It's very expected. You shouldn't be scared because you shouldn't
be scared,
overly worried. You shouldn't be overly worried if you're feeling nervous about a competition. This is how you're supposed to be feeling. Okay, that's number one. And then so you just have to work with those feelings and process those feelings instead of freaking out because you're worried that you're anxious about a comp. Like most people will feel anxious before a comp. That's normal. So just expect that. Expect nerves on the day. This is why you come to the arena early a lot of times, at least at the start, when your first comp. You get used to the atmosphere, the environment, things like this, so you're not overly stimulated, overly shocked, and you can be as calm as possible. The other thing I would suggest is if you can do your comp with as many teammates as possible, then it's going to feel like your training room a little bit more because you've got that similar environment, similar people to talk to. And it won't be as foreign as if you're in some strange basketball stadium with no one, that basically.
Yeah, if you compete by yourself, that's it.
Yeah.
It's difficult, much more stressful time too. Yeah. Another good point you've raised is sort of making competing like training. And the other way you can look at that is making training a bit more like competing. So we like to occasionally run super fights here in the gym, which are fun because you start to replicate some of the environment of competing just to make it a little bit closer. So, differences between a hard roll in the gym and competing, there are a few psychological differences that people tend to overlook. The first is that not everyone, but most people have stopped and you've got a bit of a crowd watching you. Most people, when they roll in the gym, everyone's rolling at the same time. You're there with your partner, everyone else is doing the same thing. If you can have a few super fights where you've started standing, everyone else is around you watching the match, quote unquote, that's one way you can make it a bit closer to competing. The second is having a referee, having someone that's actually scoring it. The third, and this is actually something that I think overwhelms people a lot more than they realize, is having 2 coaches or 2 corners, because the coaches can get quite excited and quite into it And that can raise the stress levels. That can raise the adrenaline. That can just be a different factor. So yeah, having a few, if you're competing for your first time, I would highly recommend speaking to your coach and saying, hey, can we run a super fight in the gym just to practice and just see how it feels?
Yeah. Well, as you were saying that, it just reminded me a bit of a tangent, but I remember I was at a comp one time, and there was a coach, and he was watching his student in a match, and he was trying to coach him, but ultimately the coach, for whatever reason, wasn't happy with the student in terms of the way they were performing. They maybe weren't listening or able to, enable their advice, and then the coach just walks away.
Yeah, that was me. I had enough. No,
He
that's
just
a shit
walks
coach.
Like
That's
if
a
you've got a
terrible
coach,
coach.
yeah, if you've got a coach at wide
But
belt
actually, I've seen that too, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, I've seen that too.
that walks away because they just simply can't stand this performance that they're watching, like, what are we doing here? Like, that's a terrible coach. Like, I really don't like that.
Yeah, 100%. And the coach needs to understand, and you need to understand that to have a bit of an outcome for the competition in the first place. Okay, what do you want to achieve from the day? Obviously, you want to win, you want to get gold. That's fine. But I think really, particularly for your first tournament, it's about getting data. It's about getting data on like, how did I feel when I competed? How was my preparation? What can I do differently? It's about learning the process of competing and understanding what you need to be optimal on the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that just comes with time. It's just competing is a separate skill on its own, and you can't expect your first comp to be flawless, perfect, and it just goes great. Like, it's a skill on its own. You have to, like you said, gather data, and then you have to figure out over time, before a match, do I need to hype myself up, or do I need to be calm? Should I come to the stadium or to the arena 3 hours before or 3 minutes before weigh-in?
Yep.
Even food, what you respond well to, all these things. Like, over time, you have to figure this out. And there's no one can just tell you beforehand. Like, it just takes time. It's a skill on its own.
For sure.
and
Knowing
you have to
yourself.
Put the time in. Yeah.
One thing I'll say as well is understanding what you need from your coach is a really good point, because some people need to be psyched up. They want to be slapped on the back. They're like, let's fucking go. Like, some people want that sort of encouragement and attention from their coach, or they want to be motivated when they're competing. And other people just want to chill the fuck out, and they want their coach to be, okay, I just want technical advice. I don't want like more stress or more elevated heart rate than is needed. So you can use that first tournament to understand what you need from your coach, and the next time you can communicate with them. Hey, look, when you're cornering me, I'd really appreciate it if you like just kept the technical, kept a fairly relaxed demeanor, as opposed to fucking ripping your shirt off and screaming. Yeah, in the corner, I've seen some pretty motivated coaches.
Yeah.
In my time, but they're having fun too. Sometimes it's hard.
That's right.
It's hard.
That's right. Make sure you take a photo so you can make an Instagram post.
Yeah.
If you come,
Make sure you have excuses ready to go. Guys, yes, I lost,
yes.
but the guy who beat me won gold.
Yeah,
that's the
my
ultimate
favorite
fucking
one.
cop out. That's my favorite
one. Statistically, most people lost to that guy. So
Yeah, and statistically, half of the people lose their first match.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, let's wrap it up. Enjoy your first competition. Let us know how it goes in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.